Hello, and welcome to this edition of Secure Networks, the Endace Packet Forensic Files, with your host, Michael Morris. This episode's very special guest is Cary Wright, VP of Product Management here at Endace. Cary, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, firstly, thanks, Michael. Great to join your podcast, which has been amazing over the last few years. So my background, I run product management at Endace. Been here about 7 years. It's been fun times for those 7 years. Prior to that, I've had pretty much over 30 years experience in the networking and security space, working at places like HP, Agilent, Ixia. Our paths have crossed in some of those places. So
Yes.
It's great to be working here with you, Michael.
No, I appreciate you joining. And I really wanted to have you on as a guest this week because I wanted to get into some really important topic we're hearing from customers, which is the importance of federal security certifications, things like FIPS, FIPS 140, NIAP, Endace PP, and DoD APL. And really what those mean. So for security monitoring solutions and tools in our environment, these tools are meant to be there to defend and protect our cybersecurity infrastructures. And yet, as you know, we keep hearing more and more about vulnerabilities in everything from firewalls to network performance management platforms. And so really highlighting the importance of these federal security certifications. So talk to us about them. Share some of the insights you've learned over the years on it.
Yeah, so let's just sort of step back for a moment and look at the high level, right? So we've got all of these potential threats hitting our networks, and we deploy a whole suite of security tools to try and prevent those threats, detect those threats, collect information on those threats. And those tools are also collecting information on us, on our networks, on what we're doing, where we're going, who we're looking, who we're talking to, etc. And it's, down to the point where they may actually be capturing vital information that we're sending across our networks. So it's vitally important that we actually secure our security tools, right? Securing the security tool. We don't think of that, really.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, we're quite, I would say, creative. We're defending the network, so we've got to do everything we can to defend as best we can. So maybe we're trying out a new tool, or maybe we're putting some open source out there to try and detect threats. But here's one thing: have we thought about how secure that security tool is?
Right.
And that's what this is all about: making sure that our security tool infrastructure is as secure as it can be. It's achieving the highest level of securities, and that's critical. It's critical for us as information security specialists that we don't let our own house burn down. We've got to make sure that our own tools are super secure, and that's where it really all comes from.
Great framing of the problem set, and we certainly wouldn't want to be introducing more risks to customers' environments just by the monitoring tools, right, in itself. So let's dive a little bit deeper. Can you explain for our listeners really what the security benefits are around? Let's start with FIPS 140, and what it provides to an organization. Yeah.
So FIPS is it's run by NIST. So FIPS 140-2 or 140-3, you may have heard of those standards. They're all about making sure that our encryption is strong, right? So our cryptography uses strong keys, uses strong algorithms, and that everything we encrypt and decrypt is done using a secure, robust algorithm, one that's been tested by NIST. NIST is the National Institute for Science and Technology in the States. They actually control the FIPS standard, and they actually certify FIPS products that come out of the various labs around the world. So what you do is you take your IT product. It's not just cybersecurity; it's all IT products that apply to NIST, apply to FIPS. You take your product to an independent lab that's accredited, and they test it. They check that the algorithms, they dive right down into the code. They run algorithmic tests against that code. They look at the way you're implementing, and they make sure that it's robust and secure, that the algorithms can't be tampered with, that the algorithms are strong, and that basic encryption is there to protect the information, and it's protecting it well. Now, FIPS 140-2 or 140-3, these standards are not cybersecurity standards as such. It really focus only on the cryptography, so the encryption only. It doesn't mean your system is secure because you've got FIPS 140 certification. It means that the encryption can't be cracked. So that's the first step, I would say, in achieving all of these, important cybersecurity certifications. Now, the difference between 140-2 and 140-3. 140-2 is the obsolete standard that has just gone end of life. So that just sunset, right? 140-3 is the new one that replaces it. It supports all the latest algorithms, and it's the one that everybody is scrambling to meet right now. Also want to point out that FIPS, when you're looking at products that have FIPS, it's not just the hard drives that need to be encrypted. It's really every communication to and from your IT product. That's the most important thing, right? That the SSH or the HTTPS connections that you've got are not hackable. That when you're storing information inside your system, if you're encrypting something, that it's encrypted well. So they're the important things. You've got to think about it as a complete system. And the complete system needs to be FIPS certified.
No, that's a good point. I was going to clarify that because I've heard recently of various products on the market that they buy FIPS certified drives, and they claim certification there, but that doesn't mean the whole solution is FIPS certified, correct?
Yeah, far from it. So if the communication to and from that system has not been validated to FIPS level security, doesn't matter how well the drives are secured. If you can log in and read all the information anyway, and then hack that communication channel, then it's kind of been compromised. So the most important thing is it's an entire system validation.
No, that's a great explanation, Cary. And I'm sure our listeners will learn a lot from this episode because we're getting into these kind of details. So why is it critical for cybersecurity teams to consider NIAP, NDCPP compliance when selecting products?
Soup, isn't it?
It is.
That's what we're learning as we go into the depths of all of these certifications. There are so many acronyms. The deeper you go, the more acronyms you discover. But NDCPP is the Network Device Security Protection Profile. Just to explain where that comes from. Some of you may have heard of common criteria. So this is all related to common criteria. Common criteria was created across a set of nations to define common cybersecurity standards for IT products. And one category of the IT product is a network device. So this is the protection profile for network devices, and that includes the switches, routers, cybersecurity tools, anything you put on the network that's sort of steering network traffic, etc.
Okay.
Now the NDCPP is it's way more than a pen test on steroids, right? Some people, are probably familiar with the penetration testing environment where you can either have your service or your product submitted for basically to see how hackable it is. And some independent party runs a whole bunch of random tests and scans and things to see if they can crack or find a vulnerability. This is taking it to the next level and then the next level again. This is an independent lab that is government certified, that has a security, what they call a security target, and which is the product that's under test, and they drill down into the code. They have a very rigorous plan of what they're looking for in terms of cybersecurity protections, and they drill right in to the point where they're requiring code walkthroughs. They're looking at the complete security of the system, everything from what ways can you connect to the device? Are all of those ways properly secured? Are they using FIPS? So you can't enter this without having FIPS to begin with, right? Are they using properly a secured FIPS algorithm? Are they properly authenticated when you connect to this device? Is it properly authenticated? And then right down to the low layer of stuff like if you have a secret, such as a password or a key stored in memory, when you release that, are you zeroing out the memory? So it's that sort of level of detail. And your product needs to be of a very high standard if you're going to meet that NIAP certification. And going through it, it's usually defense labs and things like that, DoD labs that end up signing off on this. So you can be pretty sure that if you've got a product that's got Endace CPP certification, it's been rigorously tested.
Okay. No, that's again great level of explanation for our listeners to really learn the alphabet soup that we're walking through here, right?
It's an alphabet soup. It's amazing.
So let's do one more. What role does DoD APL certification play in ensuring security and interoperability of products within, like you mentioned, DoD, Department of Defense networks?
Yeah. So DoD or DoD Information Network is part of the US Defense. And essentially DISA, which is the Defense Information Systems Agency, they pretty much run the IT network for the Department of Defense. So they have this thing called the Approved Products List.
Okay.
And the Approved Products List is the third step in these certifications that we're talking about today. Right. So once you've got FIPS, you can get NIAP certification. And then once you have both FIPS and NIAP, you can then get APL certification. Okay. And APL basically customizes it. It's a set of security evaluations specific to deploying in the defense network. Okay. So the outcome of that is the DISA lab will have tested your product to DoD standard, and they will also have required of your company to supply a deployment guide for the Defense Department. So any group within the Department of Defense can pick up your product, they can pick up your deployment guide for the Defense Department, and they can say, okay, if I put this in my network and I set it up this way, our group is secured. So it's a really useful thing for the Department of Defense. It's focused on the US, but again, it's helpful to anyone that's using the same product because, right. As long as the product that you're buying has those certifications, it's been hugely tested. And
I think that's the importance of this conversation is for all the different segments of the markets out there outside of even government agencies, understanding some of the level of rigor in some of these certifications really can help them have confidence in any solution that has these levels of certifications. So what are some challenges and costs associated with obtaining and maintaining these federal certifications that you see from a development that can ensure customers know that you're investing in a quality solution? Yeah.
This is the second time, the second company that I've led teams going through this process. We did something similar back in Ixia days when I was working there, and then I've been through it again. This is a multi-million-dollar effort, and it takes more than a year. To do it in a year would be amazing, actually. I think our latest round at Endace is probably taken us 18 months to get to this stage where we've been through all the lab testing and our product is up to standard. It's a really, really rigorous thing. So you've got all the labs, you've got to prepare for that. You've got to basically upgrade the security on all your products. So that might be changing crypto stacks, or tightening up on how password security is managed, or tightening up on how the software handles secrets, these sort of things. So there's a lot of deep dive development work to be done. Standard Linux doesn't give you all of this. You've got to do a lot more. And then you've got to basically present it to the labs and defend it and document it. And so it's a multi-year effort. It's huge. Right. But the great thing is,
shows commitment, right?
Yeah,
that's for sure.
The great thing is, once you've done it, you've kind of achieved this really high bar. Right. And then it's a lot less work, but it's still work. It's a lot less work to keep that high bar, because once you've really pushed the envelope, your product is so much stronger. And it's so much stronger, as long as you don't screw it up and introduce some, issues or vulnerabilities, then it stays high. It's really good.
So, Cary, since you've been through it a couple of times, do you have any real world examples? This is where the rubber hits the road, right?
Yeah.
Real world examples or case studies where having these certifications have significantly benefited or protected a client from a security threat or a security breach.
Yeah, so they're really hard to get those golden examples.
Right.
But what I can tell you is that the sort of things that we had to fix or deal with in the product, when you look at it, you think, wow, yeah, this was a really useful exercise, because now this part of the product is so much more secure. And so much more difficult to hack. It's, I'll give you one example. NTP, which is the Network Time Protocol, it's a hackable protocol because there is no authentication. Any NTP server could actually join your device and send in a random sort of time, and who knows what effect that has on your system if it's suddenly programmed to a different time zone or a different time. So part of all of this was requiring NTP authentication against a strong authenticated connection. So there's some real benefits there for pretty much every customer that adopts, if you're putting an IT product in your network, you know that this product has been through all of these certifications, and it gives you this huge level of confidence that you're putting something in there that's secure and well thought out.
Oh, that's a great example. I mean, you and I have talked a number of times about common protocols, not so much NTP, but DNS, right? Another one that is often used as a attack vehicle, shall we say? And so,
exactly,
shoring up common protocols that everybody uses is definitely a problem for threat actors, right? We definitely know that. So
yeah.
So, Cary, looking forward, right? How do you anticipate the landscape of these federal certifications to evolve, and how do you expect them to be used and leveraged? Even, you talked, these are a lot of U.S. government things, but on a global basis, nation state security is top priority for so many countries, and federal or international, banking, finance, healthcare verticals, all of them can really learn and gain value out of products that meet these certifications. So how do you see it evolving, and how do you see it expanding?
Yeah, so firstly, the standards are evolving all the time. So the NIAP certification process is changing in DCPP. There's a new version of that coming out very soon. In general, these standards are trying to evolve to be more agile. And it sounds, there's a couple of years' work achieving these certifications, but actually, how do you keep them up to date, and how do you make sure that any vulnerabilities are dealt with quickly? So these standards are really evolving to make sure that they can be a lot more agile than they were in the past, and we're already seeing that. But I think when I look at our customers and how they're evolving, there's a recognition that these things are really beneficial outside of defense departments and government agencies. I'm seeing large enterprises start to recognize, hey, this product is certified to defense level standards. That's a great thing. Let's try and get more of that in our security stack. And so I see this, trickle-down approach where the Department of Defense has lifted everybody's product standard, and that's now benefiting the whole industry. Those players, those security teams that are smart are looking sideways and seeing these security products coming out of Department of Defense and saying, we need to adopt these sort of products. I think it'll have a really good effect.
It's setting the gold standard. What's the saying? Rising tides lift all boats, right? In the cybersecurity world, all the good guys got to work together to combat, right? So really the scenario.
Yeah. So my advice would be look out for these sort of products. Look out for products that have been certified to defense level standards or international standards. And that will help you raise your security posture, especially within your own security stack. Very important.
Well, Cary, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to share your tremendous insights in how to better secure networks. We'd ask our listeners to tune in next time for another edition of the Endace Packet Forensic Files. For more information about Endace's network packet capture platform and our integrations with our Fusion technology partners, please go to endace.com. Cary, again, thank you for taking the time. I'm sure our listeners have learned a lot in the world of alphabet soup and cybersecurity certifications. So thank you again.
Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye.
Bye.